let's talk about the changes to the RLCS format. Let's talk about the changes to the RLCS format. All right. The season is divided to fall, winter, and spring splits. That's the same. Every split has 3 regional events. That's the same. The event names are now standardized. That is different. They are called an Open. That's going to be Regional 1. A Cup, Regional 2. And an Invitational. That's Regional 3. Okay, Regional 3 being called Invitational is important. Mark that in your brain. All right. The Fall Open will have fully open qualifiers to fill the 16 spots available. We just covered that. Winter and Spring Opens. Okay, so what Open is Regional 1. Winter and Spring Opens, the top 8 in overall points will auto-qualify, and the remaining 8 spots will be filled by open qualifiers. Again, we just covered that. The only reason that there's this qualifier going on is it's the first event of the season. Okay, Regional number 2, or now it's called the Cup, will have 8 teams qualified via overall season points, and then 8 additional teams will be added through the open qualifiers. All right. Now, the third regional is important, okay? Each invitational will field that region's top 16 teams in total RLCS points. This is actually a pretty big change. So we have 3 splits. All right. And the third event of each split, the third regional, will now not be open qualifier. You are auto-qualified into that event based on RLCS points. Total RLCS points, mind you. So in the fall, the teams that perform the best throughout Fall Open and Fall Cup and that accumulate the most points will be invited to the Fall Invitational. But when we move into the winter split, okay, you've got some teams that have probably made some roster changes, and you may have some teams that have performed better in the Fall Open and the Fall Cup, but they might not have top 16 total points. Because it's total. It's the whole season. It includes the fall, includes the winter, and then when we get to the spring, for example, a team like NRG that kind of had a little bit of a struggle, they would be okay because they had a good fall, a good spring. They would probably be invited, or they would be invited to the top 16. Okay, does that make sense? Now, NRG, they were already invited anyways. They were still top 8 in points. It's the same way that it worked last season, but instead of top 8 getting auto-invited in the third regional, now it's all the way to top 16. All right, and that is only for the Invitational, which, like I said, is the third regional of each split. You've got the Fall Open, you've got the Fall Cup, Fall Invitational, Winter Open, Winter Cup, Winter Invitational, Spring Open, Spring Cup, Spring Invitational. Okay? That's a big change. And a lot of people are like, they've got their different opinions, their knee-jerk reactions. Some are negative, some are positive. At first glance, I think I like the change. We'll see how it plays out. But right now, when we had RLCS events, we have top 5 in North America going to the major, okay? So you had a little bit of, there was some importance, there was some value, there was some weight on your teams that are really like 1 through 8, maybe 1 through 9, because all of those teams may be within reach of making the major. Okay, but 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, even 17, 18, 19, 20, those teams, they didn't matter. Okay, and obviously those teams matter. I'm not, like, understand what I'm saying. The format, just that, those teams, like, why would we discuss them? They're not going to make the major. There's really no other thing for us to talk about. But now, with the third event of each split being auto qual with an invitational, now those spots matter. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, even 15, 16, 17, 18. Teams fighting for those top 16 spots. Now there's a little bit of weight on the line. So, again, first glance, I think I like it, but we got to see how it plays out long term. Every split has a major at the end. That's the same. Every split features a different format. That's the same. Teams earn points during regionals. The amount of points earned, at majors heavily weighted over regionals. That's the same. Points have been adjusted to lower totals. This is different. And this is something that we talked a little bit about, but we didn't really have all the details, so we're going to look at the details today. And then last, Asia Pacific North and Asia Pacific South have been merged and combined into a single APAC RLCS region. Also important, we'll talk about that as well. One last thing that I do want to mention, Wikipedia made note of it. One thing to note for the RLCS 22-23 fall split, the playoff grand finals will no longer be a best of set. Okay, last season, you had a best of set in the grand finals of the fall, which means you have a potential of playing 3 best of 7s. Okay, you have to win your first best of 7, and then you have to win a second best of 7, or if your opponents win it, then you even play a third. Okay, so that is going to trim down some of the games that the teams have to play. I think that one right there is just an objective W. Okay. I guess one other thing that we can mention real quick, the RLCS World Championship is planned to remain the same format, including 2014 wildcard Swiss format, double elim group stage, and single elim playoff. The prize pool has been marginally increased from $2,085,000 to a record-breaking $2,100. So a $15,000 increase for the overall world prize pool. And unfortunately, I think this is due to APAC being merged and some of the prize money that was happening or that was being awarded to the APAC region has been kind of pulled away from it. My understanding is the merged APAC region has the same prize pool as a single APAC North or a single APAC South region had last season, which is kind of a bummer. Okay, aside from that, we're going to jump into the points and how they have been adjusted. So here are your RLCS points adjustments for the 21-22 season. And then you got the 22-23 season here on your... Can y'all see those? Y'all can't see that, can you? I'm going to do this. Open image in new tab. Can we go zoom? Yeah, there we go. That's what we're talking about right there. Okay. So 21-22 season, we had 301 points for, this is fall split, 301 points for first, 250, 200, 150, 110, 70, 40. And then you can see the percentages of the total for each placement. So if we look over at first place in the fall, for last season, you got about 13% of the points, whereas first place in the fall for this season will actually be 16% of the points. So a little bit of an increase, and we'll just compare 11, 12% here, a little bit of an increase, 9.2, 9.4%, slight increase. 5th through 8th got 6.9% of the points last time, and now they get 6.3. So kind of cut a little bit there for your mid-level teams. 9th and 10th got 5% of the points last time, and now they only get 4.2. 12th to 14th, not much of a change, a little bit less. And then 15th, 16th gets a slight bump to 2% of the points. So the change in the change with points is not only the values changing, and this is one of the things that we have to correct because I was wrong. I was saying the values are just going to be decreased. The weight of the points and the weight of the placements is not going to change. There is changes. They're not massive changes, but there is changes. There are changes. So we go on to winter, and we saw how Fall was 301. Now winter is 351. So there's an increase as the season goes forward. And then the spring, you see 400. It just makes the splits and the events as you get closer to Worlds hold more weight. Okay. And so we get the same thing here. 16 points in 2022. And now the winter will hold 20 points. And so again, we look at the percentage changes. First place, a little bit more weight. Second place, a little bit more weight. Third place, a little bit less weight. Fourth place here. The format has been adjusted slightly. So fourth place was its own thing. Third and fourth place were their own thing. And now third and fourth place are the same thing. And third got a slight nerf, while fourth got a very slight buff. We got fifth through eighth. So again, that was two different categories in last season, fifth and sixth, seventh and eighth. Now fifth through eighth, same situation here. 7 through 8 get a slight buff, whereas 5th and 6th, a slight nerf. 9th through 12th, slight nerf. And 13 through 16 is almost the exact same, 239 and 242. So again, we'll just quickly breeze through here. Just slight changes to the weight. And to be honest with you, I don't really know how big of an impact this is going to make. It could, especially throughout the whole season. It could make a big impact, but I'm not really sure how much it's going to change things. It does seem to reward first place a little bit more heavily. So it does kind of seem like it's rewarding the top just a little bit more. It's kind of thinning out the middle just slightly, and then rewarding the bottom just on occasion a hair more or a hair less. So it doesn't look like huge changes as far as the weight to the placements and the points that you get at those placements, but there is some changes. That's a good question. We have fall being 16% of the total of 100 points, whereas spring is only 15% for first place. So a little bit different there. We do have second place in the spring gaining a little bit more. Though I will say it is a fairly marginal difference, 15.69% versus 16.13 or 16.84. So not a huge difference, but the difference is there. Yeah, again, to be honest with you, I don't really know what to make of it. I think that I have not run the numbers or calculate anything like that or run through scenarios. I think we'll just have to, the way I'll do it is I'll just watch it unfold, and then I will make my opinion about it later on. We'll see how this all plays out in action, but that is your changes for the RLCS 22-23 season. Some slight adjustments, but overall, mostly the same thing as the prior.